you very much, Greg. And here in the Silverdome today, the focus for the Minnesota Vikings will be on that man, Barry Sanders, who last season single-handedly shredded the Vikings defense. And guess what? Chris Dobin and mates haven't forgotten. We'll be back for the kickoff after this message from your local stations. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Welcome to the Pontiac Silverdome for today's NFC Central Division matchup as the Detroit Lions look to rebound in their home opener against the rejuvenated Minnesota Vikings. And good afternoon, everyone. I'm James Brown, along with ex-Washington Redskins lineman George Starke. And George, last year, the Detroit Lions, with the run-and-shoot offense, went all the way to the NFC Championship game. Yet Wayne Fontes has decided to virtually overhaul the offense. Why?
Well, Coach Fontes decided that there were certain inherent weaknesses to the run-shoot offense. One, your quarterback takes a beating. Two, you can't control the clock. And Coach Fontes believes that ball control is an important element if his team is to reach the Super Bowl level.
We'll certainly amen that. Minnesota's first-year coach, Denny Green, has really brought some excitement to the Vikings. They have yet to taste defeat, going all the way back to the preseason, and continued early season success, very important for a new regime.
Well, that success, continued success, will be tested today. They play a Lions team that beat them twice last year. Barry Sanders had over 300 yards on the ground. Their offense under quarterback Rich Gannon must click to keep Barry Sanders and Rodney Peete on the sidelines.
The Detroit Lions have won the coin toss. They will receive. Only undefeated team at home in the NFL last season. I think it's safe to say this is the most dangerous dome in the NFL. Fuad Rivez to kick off for the Minnesota Vikings. Mel Gray, the dangerous one, from the 3. And Mel Gray with a seam and a nice return all the way across the 35 to the 37. Mel Gray, the leading kickoff returner in the NFL last season. A 34-yard return. Rodney Peete, fourth-year quarterback out of USC at the helm, 6 of 6 last week, 425 yards. That yardage came with the 2 tight end formation. The offensive line, Lomas Brown, the anchor there for that offensive front. Backs and receivers, of course, the focus on Barry Sanders, but Reggie Barrett in to replace the injured Herman Moore. 1st and 10 for the Lions. On the ground, Sanders. And Sanders ahead for a couple. Mike Merriweather on the tackle, the defensive line of Minnesota.
Well, these guys are small, but the emphasis is on quickness.
Light also could be the way to describe the linebacking core.
That's true, but Jack Del Rio feels he's finally found a home here. He's very happy in this Minnesota system.
Secondary, Carl Lee, R.J. McMillan, the cornerbacks. Safeties, Todd Scott and Felix Wright. 2nd and 8 for the Lions. Opening drive just underway here at the Silverdome. Brett Perryman in motion. Hand off the draw. And Sanders wrapped up and dropped by Chris Doman. Doman coming off of a very impressive game last week against the Packers.
Well, Doman, you know, is their leader on defense. He's the big play guy. He's the guy that gets this defense going. That's 56 in the middle of your screen. Plays off the block of Lomas Brown, makes the play. You can't let Barry Sanders get past you. You got to keep your eyes open. Nice play by Chris Doman.
3rd and 9, a loss of 1 on the play. Nickel package in for the Vikings. Reggie Barrett in motion for Detroit. Peete under pressure. And I tell you, Rodney Peete could not escape the grasp of John Randall, the 3rd-year player out of Texas A&I, who put the halt to him. Very impressive defensive start for the Vikings.
Take a look at your nose tackle, 97 Thomas, but that's 93, breaking in the middle of your screen. He's a guy they say has got a lot of speed and a non-stop motor. That's John Randall, number 93. Take a look at John. John's feeling pretty good right now.
And he ought to. Jim Arnold back to punt for the Lions. Anthony Parker back deep for the Vikings. It is, as Parker pushed back, but it takes a Vikings bounce, so the Minnesota Vikings will bring it out 1st and 10 from its own 20. A good defensive start for the Vikings. A 61-yard punt, no return. That Jim Arnold boot. Rich Gannon, 6th-year quarterback out of Delaware, a competitive and driven young man, wants to move into the elite ranks of quarterbacks. That's his objective. Gary Zimmerman, an impressive offensive line. Tim Irwin, of course, the old warrior, anchored at right tackle. Backs and receivers playing inspired ball this season so far. Steve Jordan in motion. And the pitch back to Terry Allen. And Allen dancing his way ahead for about 3. The Lion defense going against the Minnesota Vikings today. Welcoming back Jerry Ball at nose tackle.
That's Jerry Ball, the big man with the pressure up the middle. Takes 2 guys to block him.
Linebacking core off to a slow start.
Linebacking core has started slow, but George Jamison is the most consistent of this group.
Secondary has had problems, but they're welcoming back William White, sprained ankle. He's the defensive secondary signal caller. 2nd and 7 for Minnesota. Chris Carter in motion. And Allen runs into a wall of Lions. Good defensive stop that time by Detroit.
This is Terry Allen, the guy that is leading the league. 12 rushes for 140 yards last week. JB, that's 12 yards a carry. Not too shabby.
You know, Terry Allen certainly has done well when he's been given the opportunity in combination, of course, last season with Herschel Walker, loving the featured role this season.
Well, that's what they say. They just didn't get the reps last year. Given an opportunity, he's certainly taking the most of it this year.
3rd and 6 from the 24. Gannon, sack. And a flag on the play. Give the credit to Robert Porcher, an outstanding rookie from South Carolina State. And the holding call goes against Minnesota, so the sack will stand.
JB, that's Kofor. We're looking at Michael Kofor, their designated outside speed rush guy, coupled with, of course, Porcher, their 1st-round draft choice. Nice rush.
Holding
no
number
sacks.
64, penalties decline, 4th down.
Harry Newsom on to punt for Minnesota. And Mel Gray, guess what? Last season's leading punt returner as well. Not a good one by Newsom. Gray from the 42. He's got room. Touchdown, Detroit.
Nothing succeeds like success. Big plays by the defense. Get the special teams fired up. Reading his block. Nice cuts. Missed the movements. Tough to bring down once he gets going. You can see this guy smells the end zone. He is not going to be denied.
And Jason Hansen puts the finishing touches on that quick strike. Mel Gray, many happy returns, and Detroit on top by a touchdown. Hard to believe that Mel Gray is 31 years of age on that 58-yard punt return for the touchdown. And as I mentioned, the only player in the NFL to lead the league in both punt returns and kickoff returns in the same year. That was his 3rd career punt return for a touchdown. Jason Hansen will be kicking, and back deep, Darren Nelson to the near side and Ronnie West to the far side. And this is a boomer. He's going to bring it out. Darren Nelson from 5 yards deep. And a good return by Darren Nelson, who crosses the 20 to about the 23, tackled by Melvin Jenkins. 27-yard return, but hey, nothing as impressive as that by Mel Gray.
Let's take another look at Mel Gray. Once again, you're looking at a fellow that every time he touches the ball, he feels he should score. He runs with that kind of confidence. When you run like that, the players around you want to play better and play harder. You've got guys down there in the end zone throwing blocks the entire distance.
The standard by which they're measured. 1st and 10 for Minnesota. Ball on the 23. On the ground, Allen, and Allen runs smack into George Jamison. There's a flag on the far side of the field, but an excellent defensive read by George Jamison, considered to be, certainly by his mates and many around the league, one of the best all around. And this will go against Minnesota.
Well, you know, JB, things are not going well for Minnesota right now. You don't want to get down when you're playing away from home.
Illegal motion. When the man was in motion, number 21 shifted. Penalty is declined. 2nd down.
And the man who was in motion was Mike Tyson. Of course, 21 is Terry Allen. Denny Green, first-year head coach, as I mentioned, really has brought some excitement to Minnesota.
Well, he has brought excitement to Minnesota because he's undefeated. If that doesn't bring excitement, nothing will. Of course, that's not going to help him in here if he gets off to a slow start. Needs a few things to go his way early. He's not happy so far.
2nd and 9. 3 wide receivers for the Vikes. Allen the lone back. Rich Gannon decides to call a timeout as he sees the play clock winding down. And there is a flag, so maybe he did not do it in time. Jerry Austin, the official.
Delay a game. Offense. 5 yards. Still 2nd down.
As usual, a busy day in New York. Let's check in with the NFL Today and Greg Gumbel.
All right, at JB, at the Meadowlands, the Dallas Cowboys cap a 72-yard drive. Emmitt Smith goes 5 yards, and with the point after, the Cowboys lead the New York Giants 7-0, James.
All right, Greg, a 7-0 ball game here, Detroit, and there's a timeout called on the field. Minnesota gets it this time. They've got 2 left.
CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League is sponsored by Budweiser, the king of beers, with a clean, crisp, cold taste. Nothing beats a Bud. Mercedes-Benz, builder of fine automobiles since 1886. And by U.S. Air. Every time we fly, everywhere we go, everything we do, U.S. Air begins with you.
Inside the dome here at the Silverdome, it could be called the Noise Dome. That's why Tim Irwin says he'd like to have a microphone in his helmet.
Well, he wore one in preseason. He experimented with that quarterback to tackle sound thing, and he couldn't need it today.
On 2nd down, Gannon with time. Intercepted by Detroit, Ray Crockett. 4th-year corner out of Baylor.
Big play. Right now it's all Detroit. Take a look at the inside slot. George Jamison is dropping. Pushed him. He's taking a deep outside. Crockett just steps underneath. Reading the quarterback's eyes. They're looking into the backfield. They saw Rich Gannon. They read his eyes. They stepped in front of the receiver, picked up the ball.
And a plus for Ray Crockett, who missed the last 3 weeks of training camp because of arthroscopic surgery. That should be a boost for the Lions. 1st and 10. Ball at the 33 of Minnesota. Sanders, the ball carrier. And Sanders inside the 30 to about the 29. We'll see where they mark it. Barry Sanders unquestionably has a set of the best eyes in the NFL. You see what he did last week. 19 carries for 109 yards. I asked him, Barry, what contributes to your success? He says, I think I see pretty well.
Thinks he sees pretty well. Coach Bond says by definition he never makes a bad cut. Anytime he sees an opening, he scoots forward regardless of where the play is designed to go.
2nd and 6. Ball at the 29. Sanders Sanders tried his best to hop out of that tackle that time. Give Todd Scott a lot of credit for forcing that move. There was one tape that Denny Green looked at over and over when he took over, and that was the game against Detroit when they enjoyed a humongous lead and lost it in the closing 8 minutes.
What he's thinking here is you got to hang in there, stay close, don't get blown out. It's okay to have some problems early in the game, but just let your team gel and rally and pull it out in the end. They just don't want to get blown out here.
A loss of 2 on the play brings up a 3rd and 8 for the Lions. 8:04 left in the first quarter play. Lions on top 7-0. Peete under pressure. Throws it complete. And it gets back just about maybe a yard beyond the line of scrimmage. Jimmy Johnson, a tight end pickup from the Washington Redskins. And Rodney Peete, boy, I tell you, wasn't that a very familiar sight last year, getting hit so often?
Well, he got hit often under the old run shoot. Of course, this is the new 2 tight end offense they're running. He takes a hit, but this is football. Quarterbacks have to take a hit sometime. It's nice that he had the presence of mind to keep his eyes on his receiver, get the ball downfield, and Jimmy Johnson, young man out of Howard, was with the Redskins, made the play.
Yeah, well, certainly Rodney Peete has taken more than his share of hits. Injuries galore. 45-yard field goal attempt coming up by Jason Hansen. It's got the distance. No good. Jason Hansen off to the right, the rookie out of Washington State, who in college had a 62-yard field goal, but this one at 45 is no good. Lions still on top by a touchdown. You're looking at Rodney Peete, whose Lions are on top by a touchdown, and we mentioned going to commercial. Yeah, in fact, he does take a lot of hits, but he's had a history of injury, and I'm sure he will not like to duplicate that again.
Well, I understand he's been running a lot in the offseason to try to prepare for the hits he's going to take in anticipation of what's going to happen during the football season. He says he's ready. He can take the hits, and he'll bounce back.
Rich Gannon looking to bounce back for the Vikings. Throws it complete to Terry Allen, and Terry Allen across the 30 to about the 32-yard line. Rich Gannon, in talking with him yesterday, I've never seen a guy who's had more competitive fire than Gannon, and I mentioned at the top how he wants to get to that elite level of quarterbacks.
Well, he does. He's got a lot of drive. He's a hard-working guy. Beyond that, of course, he was drafted as a running back by New England, and he taught himself how to throw the football. He's a self-taught quarterback. Shows a lot of drive and determination.
Pickup of 6 on that last play. 2nd and 4. Ball at the 28. 6:30 left in the first quarter play. Allen again has a hold, and Allen gets up maybe about a half a yard shy of the first down marker.
You know, Terry Allen's got such a different style than a Barry Sanders. Not the water bug shifty type. He sort of beats you by shifting gears. You know, he's running in 3rd, then he shifts to 1st, then he goes back to 4th. He's the kind of guy that he'll chip away, and then he'll break a 60-yard run.
Chris Carter paid Terry Allen a big compliment, says not only can the guy run, he's got a big heart. And that was enough for the first down, so it's 1st and 10. The first down of the ball game. Allen picking his holes across the 40 to about the 43. There is a flag on the play. May get a couple flags. Kelvin Pritchett on the stop. And this will go against Detroit.
12 men on defense, 5 yards, repeat first down.
Well, that's one way for Wayne Fontes to try and stop Minnesota, put 12 men on the field.
Look at Wayne Fontes. You know, one thing about Coach Fontes is it's hard to miss the love between him and his players. You know, some coaches maintain a distance, of sort of a professional distance. With Wayne, the guys come in, sit down, talk to him. A true closeness on this Detroit team.
But yet they know he means business come game day. 1st and 5 for Minnesota. Gannon being chased by Michael Kofor. Finally throws it incomplete. Intended receiver was Terry Allen. And the interesting thing, George, you were talking about Rich Gannon being drafted as a running back by New England. That, I think, partially explains why he's so poised in pressure situations.
Well, he brings something to this offense. You know, they're running the you know, they're running the two tight end offense that the Redskins run, but of course Mark Rippon is not going to sprint out the pocket. If there's nothing there, he's going to throw the ball away. Rich Gannon won't do that. He'll try to get it on his own, as you say, JB, because he's comfortable running the football.
2nd and 5. Ball at the 44. 5:16 left in the first. Vikings trailing by 7. This is their bunch formation, as they call it. A handoff to Anthony Carter. And Carter runs up near the first down marker. Good run by Anthony Carter. As a matter of fact, his 207 rushing yards coming in here, the most by a Vikings wide receiver. So this guy, despite being slightly built, can run.
Well, he runs well. He's what you call a possession receiver, the guy that catches that short pass over the middle and at the same time has that big upfield move. Of all the Viking receivers, he's the guy they're going to go to if they go downtown. A complete outside receiver.
Steve Jordan split wide. Chris Carter in the slot on 3rd and 1. This is Chris Carter in motion. Chasing Gannon. He gets away. Going up top. Looking for Anthony Carter. Incomplete. Michael Kofer putting the heat on Rich Gannon. A welcome sight for Lions fans.
Taking another look at Kofer. We spoke with him, JB. This is the man that they feel is their upfield rusher, their speed guy. Nice rush, didn't make the play. Rich Gannon got the ball downfield. Who was he throwing to? Anthony Carter, who we just said is the man they go to if they want to get the big play.
Harry Newsom on to punt again. The last one, a 41-yard effort. And guess what? Mel Gray back again, has a 58-yard punt return for a touchdown to his credit. Lets it go. And out of the end zone. So this will be a 1st and 10 from the 20 for the Lions. 4:13 left in the first quarter. Take a look at the Lions defensive squad. Chris Spielman, Mark Spindler. You won't find two more aggressive guys in the game.
You certainly won't, and they're locker next to one another, and they're best buddies, and they have that true defensive personality. Their section of the locker room is called the ghetto. Rough and rugged.
16 total plays in this game, only 17 total yards of offense, and Peete throws it incomplete. Intended receiver, Willie Green. One of the nicer matchups in this game, Chris Dolman on Lomas Brown.
Well, you've got Lomas Brown, an All-Pro. You've got Chris Dolman, an All-Pro. Chris Dolman is the guy that Minnesota feels has got to get to the quarterback. They have to pressure Rodney Peete. Nice job that time by number 75, Lomas Brown.
I was about to mention, you've taught me well as an ex-offensive lineman. Foot movement, great foot movement on the part of Lomas that time.
JB, you're coachable, guy. You are coachable. Lomas Brown kicked out beautifully. You're absolutely right.
2nd and 10 for Detroit. Ball at its own 20. 4:06 left in the first period of play. Barry Sanders. Barry Sanders has not had much room to run thus far. This aggressive Minnesota defense doing a nice job.
Well, you know, Minnesota feels that the turf is to their advantage. Of course, they have their own dome. Nonetheless, they're a smaller defensive line. They emphasize speed and quickness. They believe that it's not impossible to get blocked, just don't stay blocked. So they play off their blocks very well, and they feel they've got to get 11 men to the tackle. They can't allow Barry Sanders to have any room because he'll certainly make 3 guys miss.
And certainly Minnesota has done just that. Sanders 5 carries, only 4 yards. 3rd and 9. Vikings. Logan pressure, flag on the play. Peete. And Peete looks to have run for the first down. There is a flag on the play back at the 15. A 10-yard scamper by Rodney Peete. Literally running for his life. Jerry Austin. And that will go against the Lions. We'll bring it back.
Illegal use of hands to the face. Number 67, 10 yards. Repeat, 3rd down.
And that's Ken Dallafor, and you can see Wayne Fonts pursing his lips.
Well, he's got a couple young guys in there, and Ken Dallafor is number 67. You see him to the right of your screen. Got his hands in there, and you can't touch the defensive lineman's face mask. You cannot push off his face. Of course, there's 2 young guys. That's Kevin Glover out of Maryland, center. A good one, I might add. Dallafleur, right tackle, and Sean Bowens also. He's got a couple young guys at guards, and they'll just have to play their way up to NFL level.
3rd and 19. Sanders on the draw. Flag on the play, and Sanders only back to the 15. Needed an extra 15 yards to do it. Boy, Ken Dallafleur having himself a rough afternoon. And George, he's not so young, 7th year in the league out of Minnesota. And actually, he is a better backup guy playing on a bad knee. But he's in there pressed in the starting duty, and take a look, blood on the bridge of his nose there.
Well, blood on the bridge of the nose is what being an offensive lineman is all about. If you don't have blood on the bridge of your nose, you're probably not hitting anybody. But you're absolutely right. He's got a weak knee, and normally he'd be the kind of guy that's a backup fella, but he has to play because they need someone to be in the right spot.
Hanson pushing Parker back. Parker from his own 31. Slowed up and finally dropped.
You know, JB, Detroit has excellent special teams, and it's like overall special team play is infectious. Someone has lost a shoe. But when you have a guy like Mel Gray that can run it back, that also makes your coverage teams more aware of what can happen if the other team runs the ball back. So you have a lead because you got the guy that can do that. The last thing you want is for the other guy to match that. So it makes your cover teams better.
And give Melvin Jenkins, 6th-year player out of Cincinnati, credit for slowing up Anthony Parker on that one. 2:12 left in the first quarter of play. Vikings trailing by 7. Roger Craig, and Roger Craig, the high-stepping one, with a good 7-yard run. Here's a guy who will come in to spell Terry Allen, and what a nice luxury, a Roger Craig to spell someone.
Well, absolutely. Once again, they're running the Redskin offense. They feel, we spoke with Dennis Green yesterday, that you need 2 backs to effectively have this system work for you. One back will get tired, and who could be better than a Roger Craig to come in? Mr. High-Knees, as you said, JP.
Gain of 9 on the play, making it 2nd and 1. Craig still the back and the ball carrier. First down for Minnesota. And a good job by that offensive line of Minnesota to push back the Lions. Roger Craig, as a matter of fact, Roger Craig slated for about 10 to 12 carries a game, and he is doing well.
Well, he's slated for 10 to 12, but you can believe if he starts to make things happen in here, he'll stay until he gets tired. Tough yardage up the middle. Getting number 93 Jerry Ball pushed back is a load,
to put it mildly. First and 10 from the 48 of Detroit. Gannon pumps, throws it complete to Craig, and Craig is near the first down marker. We'll see where they spot it. Dennis Gibson finally on the tackle. And talking to Denny Green about Roger Craig, he says with a smile, I think he's got a few more good years left in him.
I think so. That's a guy that brings so much to you. He can run the ball, send him out in 3rd down situations, have to catch the ball. Complete running back.
2nd and 1. Ball at the 39 of Detroit. 3 wideouts in for the Vikings. Craig, ball carry, and he has the first down. 4 consecutive plays going to Roger Craig, and he's delivered.
Certainly has. He's also running off left side. He's running behind big number 65, Gary Zimmerman, and of course number 64, Randall McDaniel. They feel that's the strength of their line. They're going to go to the left when they have to have that first down.
And certainly Denny Green very effusive in his praise when talking about Gary Zimmerman and Randall McDaniel. That's the end of the first quarter with the score. Detroit 7, Minnesota nothing. Second quarter action coming your way after this. 7 to zip. Back here inside the Silverdome, an arena that seats 80,000 people. The Lions normally pack in about 61,000, pretty good numbers by NFL average. James Brown along with George Starke, and a good hard-hitting first quarter. Lions lead it 7 to zip. Minnesota threw an interception. Rich Gannon. Detroit capitalized on it. And I was talking about Denny Green really speaking so highly of his offensive line, and certainly Jerry Ball can speak to how tough that offensive line of Minnesota is. There's Denny Green, first-year head coach, the Minnesota Vikings, but as he put it, 9th year as a head coach, fellas. I know what I'm doing.
Absolutely. He's been around at the college level and on the pro level. He's been in the business for a while.
1st and 10, Roger Craig. This time he goes nowhere. Gang tackle led by Ray Crockett.
We talked about how long Roger Craig might play. That's all based on how well he does. There's someone down.
Michael
Looks like Kofor.
And boy, let's hope it's not with that knee. Michael Kofor slowed a bit in the preseason as well because of a foot injury. And we'll be back to check on the status of Michael Kofor after this.
This game summary is sponsored by Budweiser.
The only score so far coming on a 58-yard touchdown punt return by Mel Gray. And Detroit leads at 7-0. And Michael Kofor, as we led to commercial, down on the field, looks to be okay, leaving under his own power.
Well, I hope so. This is Michael Kofor on the right side of your screen, lining up in front of number 83, Steve Jordan. It's Michael Kofor. He gets kicked by his own man. I think as he goes down there in the preseason, we spoke about the fact that he had a foot injury. We don't know if it's the same injury or not, but he missed at least 3 of the preseason games. And
it looked like he was grabbing that right knee at the time, and that was the knee he hurt last season. 3rd game of last season, and missed the rest of the season. 2nd and 10, 6th play for the Vikings. Terry Allen back at the back. Gannon overthrows the intended receiver, Terry Allen, and Allen that time defended by Ray Crockett. So Ray Crockett really riding a nice adrenaline rush after that interception, and he's playing aggressively, sticking like glue.
Let's take a look at Ray Crockett. This is Ray Crockett in coverage on Terry Allen. He's right there. They were in man coverage that time. No space for Terry Allen to make that catch.
Roped him down.
All right, once again, JB, Rich Gannon is looking downfield. He wants to make a play. Minnesota's got to get something going. Doesn't see anything. Of course, he's the kind of fella that'll try to make it on his own, which he does. But Detroit is right there. That's Jenkins. Bulldogs him to the ground. Right now, the Detroit defense is playing inspired football.
Rivez will attempt a 52-yard field goal for the Vikings. A low liner, and it's good. It may have been ugly, but effective.
Boy, that was low slung. That kick was about 10 feet above the ground. It rose just enough to clear the bar. 3 points anyway.
Fuad Rivez's 52-yarder finally put the Vikings on the board at 13:24 of the second quarter. 4 of 7 in field goals from 50 or more. And Gray from his 1. A flag on a play as Mel Gray this time only gets it back to about the 14. Brent Novoselsky, among others, on the stop. And Jerry Austin has been one busy referee so far.
On the run back, holding, 10 yards. Correction, half the distance to the goal, 1st down.
Well, Jerry that time decided not to tell us who the culprit was.
Well, whoever it is, it puts Detroit in a hole. That's Coach Fonts, of course, looking a little worried. Had a lot of penalties in preseason and was hoping to kind of put that behind him. That's obviously not the case. The flags are still flying.
Harry Colon grabbing that left ankle of his. Strong safety for the Lions.
He's the backup to William White, who, as we know, has got a little banged up ankle. So Colin were to stay out, William White would, his injury could be significant as the game went on.
First and 10 from the 8 out of the I formation. Barry Sanders, the tailback. Flags on the play, and Peete scrambling. Throws it nearly intercepted, and Rodney Peete was most fortunate that time. Carl Lee had a hand on that ball. Henry Thomas really applying some pressure. And it will go against Minnesota. Al Noga not pleased with that at all. He's arguing.
Well, JB, usually if you have a case where more than one defensive lineman jump off sides at the same time, some kind of movement had to take place on the offense that they were all looking at to make them jump. That's what Al Noga is saying. Something had to happen. Something pulled them off. Maybe the quarterback stepped out. We're not sure. He's not happy.
Al Noga had 1 sack last week. That was the 5th total penalty for the ball game. Both squads combined. First and 5, Sanders. I tell you what, this Minnesota defense is really all over the place. Jack Del Rio, of course, a Plan B acquisition from Dallas, has really found a home and a fit here with Minnesota. The Vikings are very aggressive. Talk about a quick team. We were making note about how light they were defensively, but quick on the turf.
Very quick on the turf, and that's Jack Del Rio, who said his job is to eyeball Barry Sanders, go wherever he goes. Jack's a big guy. He's not going to be in the pass defense. He's not dropping. He's just going to key on Barry Sanders. And the guys up front are small but active. They keep the offensive linemen off.
2nd and 6 from the 12. Sanders. Much doing. Minnesota, very aggressive defense. I know it sounds like a broken record, but boy, has Minnesota done the job. Jack Del Rio doing a nice job of spying on Barry Sanders.
That's Jack Del Rio. You've taken a look at him. Take a look at him. He's shadowing Barry Sanders. Look, he's not aggressively going beyond the line of scrimmage, working his way down the line of scrimmage. If we're Barry to come this way, he's going to come up and make the stick. Jack Del Rio, Barry's man.
3rd and 6 from the 12. Left in the first half of play. Incomplete. Barry Sanders had it for a second until he turned around and saw Jack Del Rio right there. And guess who else is on the ground? Rodney Peete.
Rodney Peete is down. That was number 93, John Randall, that applied the pressure. Difficult to throw, and you got a big guy in front of you, arms up, about to lower the boom. Right now, Minnesota is playing good defense. They're all over the field. Detroit needs to get something going. They've got the lead, but it's going to be difficult to hold on to it.
Thanks to that strong Minnesota defense, Jim Arnold having to punt from his own end zone. Anthony Parker back around the 45 for Minnesota. Arnold, a very good punt. Number 42, Parker. Fumble! Vikings say they have it. We'll see what the officials say. A 46-yard punt, a 10-yard return. And in fact, it does stay in that direction. In fact, it does stay in that direction. Eric Sanders doing what they are all taught. Go for the ball. (7-3) Lions lead, 11-19 left in the half. As you take a look at Harry Colin, the strong safety, being worked on that left ankle. Report is he will return. 1st and 10, Gannon, deep drop. Throws it complete to Steve Jordan, and Steve Jordan up maybe about a half a yard shy of what's necessary for the first down. And Steve Jordan moving the ball back where he says it belongs. The man they call Ivy out of Brown University.
Ivy League guy, JB, like yourself.
And you, George, Mr. Columbia. Only he's a little younger than the both of us.
Just a wee bit.
9-yard pass play brings up a 2nd and 1. Terry Allen, the lone back. 3 wideouts. The base formation. And Allen, big hole. Terry Allen with plenty to spare on that first down run. Inside the 30 to about the 28. Terry Allen benefiting from that strong play by the offensive line. 5 carries for 20 yards. Barry Sanders, not so good so far. 8 rushes, 8 yards, but keep in mind last year, game 1 between these two, Barry stopped for 3 quarters, exploded in the 4th.
Well, of course, Terry Allen, of course, as you said, JB, benefiting from probably a more experienced offensive line.
1st and 10 from the 29. Gannon escaping the arms of Porcher. And Gannon runs as well as he can. As a matter of fact, the guys are really complimenting Rich Gannon, saying that he is one of the very best at this.
Well, he's a running quarterback, you know, like Randall Cunningham, only he looks to be a little bit bigger and more durable than Randall. And since he was, as we spoke earlier, drafted by New England as a running back, he's very comfortable in this position. But he's a big fella. He runs hard. Notice he doesn't use the quarterback slide. He's not sliding. He's looking downfield. He'd like to lower that shoulder. Joe Cap was in the old days.
But guess what? It's only a second and 9. Terry Allen down to about the 22. Exciting play taking place in Washington. Greg Gumbel has more.
JB, they're having all kinds of fun at RFK. Atlanta punting to the Redskins. Brian Mitchell laterals to Desmond Howard, and the #1 draft pick of the Redskins goes 58 yards for his first NFL TD. Deion Sanders then returned the kickoff that followed 99 yards for a touchdown. 14-7 Redskins in this track meet, JB.
Excitement in Washington. Excitement here. 3rd and 3. The arms of Anthony Carter. You won't see that happen very often. That should have been caught.
Well, that should have been caught. #1, Anthony Carter's a pro. He's been around a long time. A simple pass, a simple what you call possession. Get the first down pass, not looking for a touchdown. The chains were right there. The markers right there. Just didn't look it in.
Anthony Carter needing 90 receiving yards to become the Vikings all-time receiver in receiving yards. Best pass receiver, of course, is Steve Jordan. This will be a 40-yard field goal attempt by the Bears. Blocked by the Lions. Jenkins. Touchdown, Detroit.
Special teams, that works. Doesn't matter how you win it, JB, just win it. Big teams by the special teams can make it happen.
Yards by Melvin Jenkins. Dan Owens did not start today's game because of a bad outing last week. He got his paws on that one. What a way to make up.
There's a big guy. There's a guy to make the coach happy. You get benched because you're not playing well. You come in and you make a play. Could be the difference in the game.
Here's the replay of the block. Dan Owens bats it to his teammate Melvin Jenkins, and Jenkins does the rest.
That's number 92. He comes up the middle, puts the pressure, he gets his big hand up. That's Mark Spindler, number 92. You'll see him coming up the middle, head low, raises, twists. You got to time this so you jump when the ball's coming up. He leaps, left arm up, smacks the ball back. Looks easy in slow motion. In real life, not that easy.
Well, we had given the credit to Dan Owens, and in fact, you're right. It was Mark Spindler, the aggressive one himself. Nelson. Excellent return by Darren Nelson as he takes it across the 30. Run out of bounds by Ray Crockett. A 29-yard return by Darren Nelson.
Well, JB, so far it's special teams today. Darren Nelson's done well. Here's a fellow that's been around the league for a long time, returning kicks, showing enthusiasm. know, when you see the other team have a couple guys that make big plays on special teams and put some points on the board, it makes you want to do the same thing. Minnesota special teams guys, they're thinking, we can do it also. We can get our team in this game.
Specifically, Darren Nelson in the league, 11 years, 33 years of age. Gannon, 3 of 8 for 24 yards, has thrown 1 interception. First and 10 from his own 32. 8:16 left in the half. Allen trying to negotiate. And Detroit not cooperating.
That's Terry Allen. Now, right now, you know that on Wayne Fonts is telling his guys, you got to stop Terry Allen. I mean, Barry Sanders will break loose at some point today. Everybody knows that or believes that anyway. Terry Allen already is having a good first half. They've got to stop Terry Allen.
Allen 7 carries for 26 yards. Michael Kofer back in for the Lions. 2nd and 10 for Minnesota. Play action. Gannon steps up. Has to run it. And dumps it off to Allen. And Allen upended hard, about a yard shy of the first down marker. And Kevin Scott did a nice job of upending him.
You've got to admire Rich Gannon, JB. Here's a kid that he's scrambling around. I thought he was going to run up, go upfield, and pick up some big yardage. He had a hole in front of him. He could have done that. He had the presence of mind to pull the ball down, step over a few guys that are on the ground, and still deliver the ball upfield. He sees very well.
Minnesota having difficulty getting the ball to the wide receivers. No completions to this point. 3rd and 1 out of the I. Allen. No go for the first down. There's Dan Owens.
There's Dan Owens.
We give him credit, properly so.
Big Dan. You know, you have Minnesota running at the strength of the Detroit defense. They, in short yardage situations, have been running up the middle. And, of course, Jerry Ball is there. And
I was about to say, I really think Jerry Ball.
I
think Jerry Ball did a nice job that time taking that considerable body of his and plugging up that running hole that Terry Allen thought was there.
That's Jerry Ball. We just had him for a second, known as the governor to Wayne Fonts. Very athletic big man, 300 pounds of athleticism.
Harry Newsom punting to Mel Gray. Already has a 58-yard punt return for a touchdown to his credit. He lets it go. And Detroit will bring it out to the 21st and 10 from its own 20. 5:53 left in the first half of play. 60,000 here at the Silverdome cheering on the defending NFC Central Division titleists. Detroit leading 14-3 thanks to 2 excellent special teams plays. James Brown along with George Starke. And Minnesota coming off of an overtime victory over Green Bay last week thanks to the foot of Fuad Rivez. Detroit lost last week to Chicago last second of the ball game. Looking to even the record at 1-1. 1st and 10 from the 20. Out of the I formation. Sanders. And Sanders across the 25 to about the 26. A speed run of about 6. Jack Del Rio on the stop.
JB, you know that at this stage of the game, as the second half winds down, that Barry Sanders is thinking to himself right now, wait a minute. This is my home. I haven't got anything going. Terry Allen on the other side is looking good. This is my home. So he very much wants to get something going. I wouldn't be surprised to see Mr. Sanders make a big play in this series.
He's credited with 7. Brings up a 2nd and 3 out of the I formation again. And this is Sanders again. And Sanders with the first down. And George, you're right. I guess he says, George is right. Let me show it.
He said, hey, this is my home. I live here. I mean, it's one thing to have the special teams put some points up, and you're happy about that. But wait a second. We're the offense. We're the guys that are supposed to be doing that. Let's get out there and make something happen. And they want to run the football. They don't want to be in a situation where they have to pass it because their offensive guards haven't done well.
First down on the ball game for the Lions. 1st and 10. 4:40 left in the first half of play. Peete drills it complete to Willie Green. And Green, a pickup of about 5, tackled by Audrey McMillan.
That's Willie Green, one of the Twin Peaks. They've got such nice size receivers on the outside. Willie Green, about 6'2", 180 pounds. opposite Reggie Barrett, 6'3". They've got these tall guys outside. With Herman Moore's there, they call them the Tri-Peaks. Big outside receivers. There's Willie Green.
A real lovable character.
And a basketball player.
Well, so he says. He's challenged you and me to a 2-on-2 with me and Herman Moore.
That's what he was for that black Mercedes of yours.
Well, I don't know he'll get that. 2nd and 5 from the 40. Complete to Jimmy Johnson, and Johnson has the first down. Jimmy Johnson, a tight end pickup from the Washington Redskins, has been blocking most of the preseason, and the first game said, fellas, I do have a pair of hands.
Well, he's got hands. He's got great hands. The problem, of course, is that since the linebackers don't drop deep enough for the tight ends to get underneath and get in that hook zone, because the linebackers are all looking at Barry Sanders. So while in normal defenses they would drop deep and you could get that tight end on a release, they're all up so close to the line of scrimmage watching Barry Sanders, and it makes it difficult for a guy like Jimmy Johnson to get in there and get his catches.
1st and 10 from the 47. 3:13 and counting left in the first half of play. Detroit on 14-3. Peete complete. Flag on a play. It was completed to Brett Perryman. But there is the flag. The holding against the line. Peete has an awful lot of time picking himself. 1st and 20 from the 37 of Detroit. Peete, deep drop. Dolman with the pressure, completed. And Barry Sanders tried to put on some considerable moves, but to make that Minnesota right there. Jack Del Rio everywhere on the field.
His job, Barry Sanders, Jack Del Rio right there. There he goes, Jack. Jack's a good-sized fella himself.
6'4", 250.
Absolutely, that fella.
We asked Jack, had he in fact made any changes, if you will, to his wardrobe coming. The man with the headset on, Dan Henning, the new offensive coordinator for the Lions, he was given a charge to tweak and change things coming here.
Absolutely. He was with me, or I was with him for a couple of years. He's with Joe Gibbs, the offensive coordinator with the Washington Redskins in those early 80s when they went to back-to-back Super Bowls. Offensive mind. He came to Detroit, spent about a month just studying Detroit's plays last year, said to Coach Wayne Fonts, I think I know what you want. And it's created kind of a hybrid combination of the 2 tight end offense and the run shoot. Quite unique to this Detroit Lions team.
2nd and 18. Peete. Open, putting pressure on Jimmy Johnson. Intercepted. Minnesota. Jimmy Johnson did not look the ball in. Had it for a second. Escaped, and Audrey McMillan right on top of the play.
Well, great play by Audrey McMillan. It's one thing to come up and jar a ball loose. He didn't actually jar it loose. Jimmy Johnson just didn't look the ball in, and it slipped out. But Audrey McMillan had the presence of mind to make the play. Good hands low. Great defensive play. Minnesota needs something to get them going. A defensive turnover could be the thing. Jimmy Johnson. A little embarrassed about that, I'm sure.
First turnover by the Lions. 1:52 left in the half. Gannon. Complete to Anthony Carter. There's a flag back in midfield, as Anthony Carter has more than enough yardage for the first down. We'll see what the result of the flag is.
Illegal block from behind, number 74, 10 yards, repeat, first down.
Stating the obvious, that hurts Brian Habib, the guilty party.
That's Anthony Carter working against Kevin Scott, man-to-man defense. Little shoving outside, little shoving inside. Makes the break to the sideline. Reception, you know, JB, these days is a lot of pushing upfield, especially on those outside wide receivers. That's why they have to be big. There's the guilty party, number 74.
Brian Habib. So it's 1st and 20. Gannon. Incomplete.
A lot of penalties today, JB. It's the thing that throws an offense out of sync. Stops drives and makes coaches crazy.
And Gannon not enjoying a very statistically sound first half. And you talked about penalties. There's the embellishment.
There it is. 3 for 20, 4 for 32. It's not only the yardage, it's the time that they come. They stop drives. Gannon's trying to think about what he can do to get his guys going.
He's got a minute 39 to do it. 2nd and 20. Here comes Crockett. Intercepted by Detroit again, this time by Sheldon White. 2nd interception of the ball game for Detroit.
Gannon on the run. Now, I said earlier that I thought he had great presence of mind, that he didn't get pressured too much. This pass was poorly delivered, and Sheldon White had the presence of mind to make the interception, but he shouldn't have thrown the ball. There was nobody open, and he underthrew it also. I think he's feeling the pressure of the score and the clock running down in the first half. Made a bad delivery and a bad choice.
And he's hearing the obvious. Peete. He's got room. First down, Barry Sanders. Felix Wright ran him out of bounds. A 12-yard play from Peete to Sanders. 1:22 left in the first half of play. Lions on top, 14-3. And don't forget, coming up at halftime, Greg and Terry in the studio in New York, scores and highlights from around the league, as well as U.S. Open reports from what's taking place in Flushing Meadows. 1st and 10 from the 41 of Minnesota. Nogan with pressure on Peete. And finally dropped by John Randall. Now give Al Noga the credit for flushing Peete in the direction of Randall. Randall gets the credit, his 2nd sack of the season.
Al Noga does flush Peete. They felt that they had to get a lot of pressure on Rodney Peete. Couldn't allow him to drop back, sit in the pocket, and throw the ball downfield, coupled with the problem that Rodney throws well when he's flushed out of the pocket. They wanted to have good rush lanes, pin him in, bring him down. There's Mr. Noga right there. Just had him. Big fella, undersized, but very quick. Typical of the defensive lineman from Minnesota. There's Mr. Noga again.
Take a look at that Tampa Bay score. Tampa Bay, now we've had the knowledgeable types around the league say this squad really has a chance of doing something this year. We saw them first week of the season. That defense is impressive.
Well, the defense is very impressive, and I hope you put us in the group of the knowledgeable types around the league. We were there. We watched them first. They've got some big young fellas on defense, and they've got Sam White, who's got them all fired up. They could surprise a lot of people this year.
And talk about a surprise taking place in the Meadowlands, where the Cowboys and Jimmy Johnson has not enjoyed much success. 20-0 over the Giants. You think they'll be calling for Ray Hanley's head there?
I think he's going to have a tough time.
2nd and 9 from the 40 of Minnesota. Nogan wasn't called for offsides. Here's Sanders. And Sanders has another first down.
Barry Sanders just waiting to break loose. You know he wants to get a big play in before the half is over.
11-yard gain on a play, finally tackled by Felix Wright. 50 seconds and counting left in the first half. Sanders, 11 carries for 34 yards. And flags on the play as Dolman trying to get a read a little too quickly.
Once again, I think Dolman's going to say he was drawn off here. There's certainly...
Before the snap, number 66, false start, 5 yards, still first down.
And Dolman was right as Sean Bowens drew him off sides. Well, you mentioned Barry Sanders is the kind of guy that can create headaches, and the last run an indication of it.
Well, let's take a look. A little backfield action. It's a counter, similar to the counter tray that the Washington Redskins run. Not a full counter tray, but it is counter action. He stepped to the right, came back to the left. Big hole. Barry Sanders always looking to go the whole way every time he touches the ball.
It'll be 1st and 15 for the Lions with 42 seconds left in the first half of play. Minnesota trailing 14-3. Peete about 2 yards shy in the first down. Willie Green, 13-yard pass play.
Willie Green, one of the Twin Peaks. There's Rodney Peete, feeling the pressure today.
And a timeout called by Detroit. That's its second, leaving the Lions with 1. Minnesota has 2 timeouts remaining with 35 seconds left in the first half of play. I tell you, I'm really looking to hear Greg and Terry talk about that New York-Dallas ball game, Washington and Atlanta. As a matter of fact, Washington leading Atlanta by only a touchdown right now. You'll get that and more, as well as a U.S. Open report. Your sport, tennis.
My sport, tennis. Pete Sampras won yesterday. Edberg. I believe we have Sampras and Edberg in the final.
Vikings really need a defensive stop here. As you take a look at the man on the right in the glasses, Tony Dungy, defensive coordinator for the Vikings, and he is one of the most creative minds in the game today defensively.
He certainly is. We spoke to him a lot yesterday, and he's the guy that said, I want small, fast, aggressive speed guys on my defense. I don't want to be big. I just want guys that can run all day long.
2nd and 2. Peete running for the first down. And Rodney Peete. Now, it looked like it may have been a design play. The clock is still running. 20 seconds left in the first half. Peete ran for the first down, and he'll throw down. There are flags as well down.
Absolutely, JB. I believe this was a design play. He was to roll out. If he could flip the ball, flip it. But really, it was a design run. Run, pick up whatever yardage you can, but get out of bounds and stop the clock. Unfortunately, that didn't happen.
Ball start on the center. He illegally snapped the ball. 5 yards, first down. There'll be a 10-second runoff.
Kevin Glover, number 53, is the center.
Take another look at Rodney Peete. You can see he's not really looking downfield to pass the ball. He got a little defensive pressure early, but still, he's not holding the ball up as if he wants to pass it. What he's trying to do is get to the sidelines. He wants to pick up what yards he can and get out of bounds, stop the clock. Unfortunately for him, he didn't quite make it to the out-of-bounds line.
And the clock with 5 seconds showing. Is there time? And Detroit burns off its last timeout. Rodney Peete asking Jerry Austin to explain to him, hey, what has been transpiring here? Jerry Austin comes over to explain it to Wayne Fonts. I'd like to hear that explanation. Unless Detroit purposely ran off 10 seconds on the clock.
I think the issue might be whether Detroit purposely got a penalty to stop the clock by moving prior to the snap. Because Rodney Peete didn't get out of bounds, the clock is still running. And I believe that's what we're trying to determine.
Well, you know what? I mean, again, speculation on our part, but perhaps the official ran the 10 seconds off the clock. Net effect, still 5 seconds left. Jason Hansen on to attempt a 35-yard field goal. And it's good. So the Lions complete the first half with that field goal by Jason Hansen. And that's the end of the first half with the score: Detroit 17, Minnesota 3. Receivers haven't caught a pass in the first half, and the Vikings trail the Lions 17-3. George Starke and I will be back to talk a bit more about the second half. And the Lions, Mel Gray, a 58-yard punt return for a touchdown. Graphic illustration of why he led the league in both kickoff returns and punt returns last season. The 31-year-old picking up where he left off last season. And special teams play continued to be the mark of the first half for the Detroit Lions. Mark Spindler, number 92 in blue on the defensive line there, pushes his way through, gets that big paw on the ball, and guess who benefited from it? His teammate Melvin Jenkins, as he scoops it up and races 56 yards for the score. And Detroit was off and running with 14 points thanks to special teams play. And we'll be back to talk with George Starke about what Minnesota has to do in the second half. That and more from the Silverdome after this.
CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League is sponsored by AT&T. More ways to help you stay in touch. Valvoline Motor Oil. People who know use Valvoline. And by the people at Nike, who encourage you to just do it.
60,000 have had plenty to cheer about here in the Silverdome as the Lions lead the Vikings 17-3 at the half. James Brown along with George Starke. And I tell you, no matter how you slice it, offense, defense, special teams, one of the three has to contribute, and Detroit certainly has its special teams to thank.
Well, absolutely. It's been all special teams in the first half. If you take out the 14 points put up by the Detroit special teams, you have a 3-3 game, which I really think dramatizes what's been happening on the field. Minnesota's offense is sputtering. Detroit's offense is sputtering. Barry Sanders has some yards. Terry Allen has some yards. No consistent drive by either team. You could say lackluster offense. You could say good defense. Regardless, the score is 17-3 because Detroit special teams have risen to the occasion and took it upon themselves to say, we'll win it. I don't care.
To use your expression, lackluster offense on the part of Minnesota. Minnesota has not been able to get the ball to its wide receivers. No passes to the wide receivers in the first half.
Well, when you take one whole segment of your offense out, it certainly puts a lot of pressure on whatever else you're doing. You know, it doesn't matter if you don't throw to the wideouts and your running backs, you know, put up 3 touchdowns. The point is you got to do something to score. They haven't been consistent, so we'd have to assume, and I think it's correct to do so, that not having any receptions to the outside guys has really caused their offense to sputter.
Longest play from scrimmage, that is scrimmage for Minnesota, 9 yards. Detroit 13 yards. You take a look at the rushing yards, 33 yards passing for Minnesota, and they were all to the running backs. Rich Gannon, 4 of 11, 33 yards, 2 interceptions. You get the impression in talking to him, though, he's not going to let the first half bother him. He will come out stronger in the second half. Rodney Peete, 6 of 9, 42 yards, 1 interception. Rodney Peete has been under pressure all day. He's been picking himself off of the carpet. That Minnesota front 3 and front 4 has really been doing the job.
Well, they've both been under pressure. You know, neither of them are lighting up the scoreboard or the statistics column. I'm sure that they both had meetings with their quarterbacks and their coaches at halftime and said, we got to get something going, especially in this first series.
Darren Nelson from his 1. And Darren Nelson continues to drive across the 20. Temporarily slowed up by Ed straight ahead Tillison, but Nelson continued ahead for an extra 3 or 4. Now, you know, Denny Green, one thing we get as an impression from him, a no-nonsense kind of a guy. You know, he had a very straight conversation in the locker room.
Well, he doesn't pull any punches, that's for sure. And he wants to get his guys going. So they might have been breaking chairs or doing that stuff the coaches do when they want to fire their team up.
1st and 10, Vikings at their own 22. Just underway here in the 3rd quarter. Vikings trailing 17-3. Terry Allen looking for his own fumble. Play is still alive. Jerry Ball.
Did you see that move? Did you see that move, JB? He hurdled that defense. Jerry Ball played fullback in high school, has a couple 100-yard games to his credit. Big fella was running, carrying, and seeing the end zone. He's still carrying that ball like he knows what he's doing. Loses the ball. Jerry Ball picks it up, hurdles Rich Gannon. Big fella can do it.
That will be on highlight reels across the country as Hansen bangs it through, and an opportunistic Lions defense continuing to do the job. Jerry Ball rumbling across for the score. There is Frank Gans. He looks calm on the exterior, but excited on the inside, the special teams coach for the Detroit Lions. A guy who has a backpack, battery-packed megaphone.
We saw him in practice, and he's all the way live. He's got his own PA system. He follows the team around, constantly keeping them excited.
Darren Nelson with an excellent return up to about the 33. No die on the part of Minnesota, and here's the play that Jerry Ball scored on.
We've got the 2 outside guys We got Michael Kofer and Kevin Pritchett. We've got Kevin Pritchett, number 94, and Michael Kofer. They're both together in that circle. Kind of close. Now what's going to happen is Terry Allen's going to run to that side. They fall on him. They squeeze him. The ball comes out. There's Jerry Ball, who, by the way, had to hustle to get over there to pick that ball up.
And score his first career touchdown as a pro. First and 10 from the 32 for the Vikes. Here comes Michael Kofer. Is it caught? And that is the first reception by a wide receiver for the Vikings in the game. Anthony Carter now has 97 consecutive games with at least one catch. A
JB,
Vikings record.
You know the pressure's going to mount. Minnesota's in a situation now where it's the third quarter has just begun, but they're down 24-3. They need to get their wide receivers involved. They need to get everyone involved. They expect to come back and make this game competitive.
Anthony Carter continuing to add to the record he has already. Pass is completed. We'll see where they mark the forward progress. Hassan Jones, the man who's nicknamed Palmolive for his soft hands.
Good hands, Palmolive, soft hands.
And he ran the route to perfection. That was enough for the first down. Hassan Jones, 7th year out of Florida State. And judging by what Minnesota is doing in the early going here, they plan to definitely get the wide receivers involved in this offense.
Well, not only involved, but probably involved on underneath routes. They need to chip away at this Detroit defense. 5 yards, 6 yards, 7 yards. Not go for the big play. Keep the chains moving.
Complete, and a great job of holding on by Anthony Carter. That for a first down. A 13-yard pass play. AC is not a very big guy weight-wise, only about 180 pounds. You knew that he knew the hit was coming, and he held on.
Well, he did. Melvin Jenkins delivered a good hit. Anthony Carter, as we spoke before, is going to make that over-the-middle catch. He also can go up top. I think they're going to throw him over the middle, then they'll fake over the middle, go up top, and try to get 7.
First and 10 from the 45 of Detroit. Complete to Allen. Allen with room. And Allen inside the 40 of Detroit, stopped by Melvin Jenkins and an assist from Chris Philbin.
Here's a guy that you know that wants to make up for the play he had in the last series. He fumbles the ball. He gives up 7 points. He's thinking right now, I got to not only put up some points, I got to get back the 7 I gave up. So he needs to put up 3 because he owes 1.
12:04 left in the third quarter play. Minnesota trailing 24-3. Second and 4. Gannon complete to Chris Carter. First down inside the 30. And Chris Carter is dragged out of bounds by William White. And Gannon coming out very effective and determined on this drive by Minnesota. 5 of 5 in this drive.
This is the first time all day that they've had anything going, and they've really opened up their offense. A little something to the right, a little something to the left, a little underpass to Terry Allen. Probably look for a run in here. They need balance on offense. This is the first time they've had it today.
Minnesota at the 29 of Detroit. First and 10. Good protection for Gannon. Good coverage downfield by Detroit. Gannon decides to take it and slides in. Is it loose? Nope, down by contact. Rich Gannon slides near the first down marker. You have to like the heart and competitiveness displayed by Rich Gannon. And again, as a running back, he knew the hit was coming.
Well, he did. And the interesting thing is he could have run earlier, but he really wanted to deliver this ball downfield. When he has to run, though, he's a big fella. He gets hammered. He does that little quarterback slide. But nonetheless, you know, he's 6'5". He's 220 pounds. He's a guy that can take a hit and deliver a hit. A lot of poise. A lot of poise.
And as we mentioned, drafted as a running back by New England. Second and 1, 7th play of the drive by Minnesota. And Gannon escapes Michael Kofer, first down, and runs out of bounds at about the 8. What a dimension Rich Gannon brings to the offense. As a matter of fact, you had that very conversation with Jack Burns, the offensive coordinator for Minnesota, bringing the Redskins' offensive scheme here, but Gannon adds an extra dimension.
Well, that's exactly right, is that this is the offense that the Washington Redskins run. If Mark Rippon, the Washington Redskins quarterback, gets in a jam, he's not going to run the ball. He's going to throw the ball into the stands and try to reload and get it next play. Rich Gannon won't do that. If he can pick up the yardage on his own, he'll do it, and he does it very effectively.
First and goal. Gannon throws it away. Flag on the play. Now I'm sure Gannon is wondering if in fact they're saying intentional grounding.
Intentional grounding, number 16, 10 yards, loss of down, second down.
Now I'm sure Gannon is saying, hey, wait a minute, my guys can jump. That was a catchable ball.
My guys are big outside, and he's thinking, wait a minute. Now here's a circumstance where I didn't tuck the ball down, I didn't run, I did what they coach quarterbacks to do. If you don't have anything, throw it into the stands, and I get a penalty.
So to bring up a second and goal, ball marked at the 18. Vikings' deepest penetration today. Anthony Carter to the near side. Gannon. And Chris Carter wanted defensive interference on Benny Blades, and Blades is talking to him.
A little bit of back and forth that you get downfield.
Chris Carter, one superb athlete, maybe the best athlete on their team, certainly the best basketball player on that team.
Well, he is. He wanted to cut inside that time. Benny Blades just wouldn't let him inside. Rich Gannon had to deliver the ball and did so to the open area, knowing it was going to be incomplete.
Third and goal. See where they mark it. Not enough for the first down. Boy, Rich Gannon certainly showed some moves.
It's a great move, and that's Kofor coming from the outside, number 55. What's interesting is that they didn't block him. They let him go. Obviously, some kind of offensive snafu that he would be free. He lined up as a rush end, as he always does in the passing situation. They let him go. Fortunately, Rich Gannon made him miss.
33-yard field goal attempt by Fuad Rivez, and it is no good. The lonely world of a kicker when you miss. Fuad Rivez had 22 consecutive field goals made inside the 40. Had not missed inside the 40 since he joined the Vikings in November of '90. That his first miss as a Viking inside of 40 yards. And the score stays 24-3 Detroit. First and 10, Lions from their own 20. 8:57 left in the third quarter of play. Sanders. And Sanders is wrapped up. Minnesota is not giving Sanders much breathing room at all. Yes, he's had a couple of runs, 10, 11 yards, nothing explosive and long.
That's true, JB. They're in their two tight end offense right now. This is what they changed their offense so that when they have a lead, they don't have to pass the ball. What they want to do here is run the ball, use up the clock. This is called ball possession.
So that was a part of the change with Dan Henning. Dan Henning coming here.
Absolutely. This is a two tight end offense right now. You can see a balanced offensive line.
Peete throws it complete to Mike Hennon. And that looks to be enough for the first down. It is a 13-yard pass play. And Peete was under pressure that time.
The two tight end offense has a balanced line. Hennon on one side, Johnson on the other side. It forces the defense to balance up so they don't know what's going to happen. Interestingly enough, they didn't run the ball. They threw the ball. The big number 48, Mike Hinnant, weighs about 280 pounds. That's a big load downfield.
That ball was right on the button. Peete, 7 of 10. First and 10 from the 33. Play action. Looking for Jeff Campbell. He's got him complete. First down and a bunch more.
Big play. That's Rodney Peete. The two tight end offense, JB, has been very good to this team. They've lined up in it. They haven't necessarily run the ball, but they've been very successful passing the ball out of the two tight end offense.
So you think Minnesota was expecting run with that formation?
Well, you have to. Minnesota runs the same offense, and it's set up to, you know, to run those counter gaps and that kind of stuff, force the defense to balance up. A lot of power on the line, but they're passing.
That was the longest play of the game, 29 yards, first and 10 from the 38. And Sanders escaping one tackle, but runs into two more.
Gang tackling. That's what Minnesota says they have to do. They want 11 guys to the ball.
Mike Merriweather and Jack Del Rio, Atlanta coming back on the Washington Redskins. Can you believe this? Dallas is absolutely crushing the Giants 34-0. And the Cowboys had not scored a touchdown in their last two games against the Giants in Giant Stadium, walloping them today. Second and 10 from the 38 of Minnesota. 6:23 left in the third period of play. Two tight end formation again. Sanders has room and pushed out of bounds. We'll see where they spot it. It looks to be right at the first down marker. Audrey McMillan pushed him out of bounds. And that's enough for the first down.
This is Barry Sanders in the back line. He'll break outside, as you can see. With all that power on the line of scrimmage, you've got those big guys. You've got Hinnant, you've got Johnson. Barry Sanders is looking to break out. He's thinking right now, we're ahead. We'll probably win this game, but I still want to get a big run. Barry Sanders looking to go all the way.
George, again, a perfect illustration of the versatility you're saying that Dan Henning brings to this Detroit offense by not being pure run and shoot. First and 10, Sanders again. And Sanders having to work hard as he skips and dives ahead for about 3 yards on the play. 15 carries for 47 yards on the afternoon.
Well, he only got 3 yards, but JB, he almost broke that one off the way. He was going to the right. He saw that hole open up over the middle, tried to get back, just tripped up. You can feel that he's just on the verge of a big play. But once again, it's a two tight end offense. This is why they put this offense in, so they can use up the clock and have a different option other than have to pass the ball like they'd have to do in a run shoot.
Going back to exactly what you said at the top of the show, 2nd and 7. All at the 24 of Minnesota. Play action. Peete drills it complete. And the catch made by Brett Perryman. Brett Perryman, 5'9", 180. A happy man since he's no longer in New Orleans and proving to be a big play guy here.
Well, he certainly is, JB. Hate to speak in cliches, but as they say, the run sets up the pass. If you can run the ball, you can pass the ball. That was a nifty little play action. The defense has to respect it. Opens up the pass outside to Perryman. A little bit of balance in offense. Right now, Rodney Peete is looking very relaxed.
They say that Brett Perryman is the best rack guy, runner after the catch. On 3rd and short, Sanders. And Sanders looks to be close enough for the first down. We'll see. And it is Mike Merriweather on the stop. You know, watching a Barry Sanders out there, he's got to be just one nerve-wracking guy to try to keep control of the entire ball game.
Well, the pressure he puts on the defense. They're thinking we can tackle this guy and tackle this guy and tackle this guy. And at some point in the game, he may break for 80 yards and a touchdown. That you can never relax against him. The pressure he puts on the defensive backs, the linebackers, and the linemen, the defensive linemen, is everybody's got to get there every play. He may go all the way anytime.
First 3rd down conversion by the Lions. 9th play of the drive. This is 1st and 10. Detroit, Willie Green.
That's your guy, JB, Willie Green. Rodney Peete, happy young quarterback, home opener, going to one of his Twin Peaks.
George, you talk about a pinpoint pass. Rodney Peete showing good arm strength, had to drill that one. I believe it was Vincey Glenn and Audrey McMillan who were right there.
Not a happy Dennis Green on the other side. His guys haven't been able to get anything going today, and when they did, they missed the field goal. Rodney Peete's looking more and more comfortable in this offense. Things will probably get better for him as this game goes on, which doesn't bode well for Dennis Green.
Well, it's getting better for Detroit. 31-3 lead, Rodney Peete. Yes, young man, you have reason to be happy.
It's where Major Nelson dreamed of Jeannie. Cocoa Beach, Cape Canaveral. Andy said, why spend $200 a day for some fancy Florida resort? Not when $5 buys you a beachfront lot, and you might even find a Jeannie that isn't in your dreams. Hot sun, white sand, and the locals don't even mind lending a hand with the parking. And you can bring your own supply of Old Milwaukee Light. Watching that rocket's red glare, sharing an Old Mill Light, it doesn't get any better than this.
9 plays, 80 yards, 5:38 off the clock, and Detroit on top 31-3. Ronnie West from the 5. And an excellent return by Ronnie West across the 30 to about the 31. Tracy Scroggins on the stop. We'll be back in the Pontiac Silverdome after this.
Taking another look at that touchdown play, the corner and the safety are playing a zone defense. They're going to drop and converge on the goal line. Green comes up, cuts in. They're in the right coverage. It's just a perfectly delivered pass. Rodney Peete hits Green on the break just as he crosses the goal line. Those two guys are there. It's just the ball is perfectly thrown. They can't get it. It's down around the ankles just over the goal line. Take a look at Green, basketball player JB.
Quiet
Challenged
now.
you and I.
Isn't that nice? Now, do you think he saw you drawing that from way down there?
Hey, a young man, he's at home, he scores a touchdown, great throw, great catch. You have to feel good for him.
And the guy he's teasing with in the glasses in street clothes is Herman Moore, the wide receiver who has a torn quadricep muscle. And those are the guys that challenge us in the game. Minnesota trying to get back in the game. Incomplete. Gannon's pass low to Anthony Carter. Rich Gannon, 10 of 20. And some long faces on the sidelines of the Minnesota Vikings. It'll be interesting to see how these guys react. If the score holds, it will be their first loss this season, going back to preseason, as we mentioned during the open. 2nd and 10. Gannon throws it complete to Anthony Carter. Carter about 2 yards shy of the first down marker. The NFL on CBS continues next Sunday with doubleheader excitement. Some of you will see the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Minnesota Vikings, or the 49ers taking on the New York Jets. Later, these Lions will take on Super Bowl champions, the Washington Redskins, or some of you will see Phoenix at Dallas. All the action starts with the NFL today. Don't miss the last word before kickoff. Vikes are 0-6 on third down conversions, and it looks like they may finally have gotten their first conversion on third down. That pass to Roger Craig.
Well, that's the veteran, Roger Craig. You know, JB, you spoke earlier about something that I think you're correct about. These guys have handled victory very well. How they now handle controversy may say a lot about head coach Dennis Green and who these Minnesota Vikings are going to be this year. Things don't always go your way. You have to handle controversy as well as success.
1st and 10 from the 44. Complete Steve Jordan. And Jordan got within a few inches of the first down marker. Well, you know, they've got some real good guys left on this program right now. Guys like Steve Jordan, a class act if ever there was one on a football team. Jordan, 3 catches for 26 yards. Guys like Roger Craig, he's been there. He knows what it takes. So they've got some good characters on this team to draw on in times of adversity.
Well, they do. They've got good players. They've got.
And Pittsburgh. Ball overthrown over the head of Hassan Jones. Baltimore trailing Milwaukee. Milwaukee spanked the O's last night. And the O's, of course, trying to chase the front-running Toronto Blue Jays. California losing to Minnesota 3-1, that in the 5th inning. Well, no matter how close Baltimore seems to get to Toronto, the Blue Jays don't seem to be folding right now, but maybe I'm speaking too soon.
I don't think so. I don't think they're going to fold.
Gannon grabbed by Jerry Ball, sacked.
Jerry Ball, it was just a matter of time. We haven't heard much from Jerry Ball as a pass rusher today.
Sack number 1 of the day for Jerry Ball. What an afternoon for the big one.
Well, the big one, he's been playing on Kirk Loudermilk all day, a center who's a big, strong guy. That time he lines up on Brian Habib. Habib, not as strong as Loudermilk, overwhelms him. The big guy is in for a sack. He's having a good day today. He's got a touchdown under his belt. High stepping, stepped over the quarterback in the end zone. Jerry Ball, the leader on defense.
3rd and 18. To Allen. Allen will be nowhere near what's needed for the first down, but flags are thrown on a play. Melvin Jenkins stopped Allen. Melvin Jenkins has had himself one outstanding afternoon as well. Young man who was a Plan B pickup from Seattle.
Personal foul, tackling by the face mask, 15 yards, first down.
Well,
Number 24.
the first mark against Jenkins today.
Well, Melvin Jenkins has had a heck of a day. You know, sometimes your hand inadvertently gets caught up in the face mask. That doesn't look like a time that it was inadvertent to me.
I was about to say, George, inadvertent.
I mean, there are inadvertent times, and then there are, I guess, advertent times, if there's such a word. Regardless, Melvin Jenkins, not a good play.
My fingers just happened to wrap around the face mask, and that's the end of the 3rd quarter. And folks, it's been all Detroit. Lions on top 31-3. That's Mark Spindler, the Detroit left end being attended to there, his left knee. Spindler came into this season really ready to play, dropped about 10 to 15 pounds, got rid of the knee brace on that bad knee of his, and has been playing super. Let's hope everything is okay. 1st and 10 from the 26. Vikings, Gannon drills it complete to Hassan Jones, and Hassan Jones down by contact, no fumble. So it'll be a first down for Minnesota. William White on the coverage, 16-yard pass play from Gannon to Jones.
The Vikings trying to get something started. They've got to get on the board. They're down 31-3. They need to make something happen. Nice pass, good pass protected. Their line is playing well today, JB. They're behind, so I guess it's no secret to anybody here that they're going to throw the ball. That's the test of an offensive line. If you can pass block in those situations when the defense knows that you're going to do so.
1st and goal from the 9. 14-17 left in the game. And this is a noise stoppage here. And we'll return to Detroit after this message from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS. A special teams kind of day here at the Silverdome. Lions 31-3 over top of the Vikings, and that man there has done just about everything he'd like to. He's got a sack today, first career touchdown. He'd like just to carry the ball from the backfield now.
They call him the governor, promoted up from the mayor to the governor by Coach Fox.
1st and goal from the 9 for the Vikings. Allen down to about the 5. Terry Allen at 5'10", just under 200 pounds, about 197, is actually stronger than he appears, according to his teammates, and they ought to know.
Well, he's a good running back. He's been hitting inside today, outside today. You know, a testimony to the offensive line in Minnesota is they're not afraid to run a Jerry ball. They're unfortunately very far behind right now, and so they need to get some points on the board.
2nd and goal from the 5. Allen down to about the 3. Michael Kofer on the tackle. Michael Kofer, you will not find a better sculpted body in the NFL and maybe even in bodybuilding.
I agree, JB. I think you and I being there, spending some time in the locker room, made us both want to go and work out, hit the gym.
Yeah, I just ordered an Olympic set at home. This guy has worked religiously to get that leg back in shape. As you take a look at William White, and William White, as we mentioned, came in with a sprained left ankle, and Woody Woodenhofer was most concerned, along with Wayne Fonts, about whether or not this guy was going to be able to play today. He is their defensive signal caller in the secondary, not only bright, but very effective.
Absolutely, JB. He's their quarterback on defense. He calls all the pass defense combinations, whether man, whether zone, whether some combination of man zone. It's important, or it looks like he may not be able to continue. This could be a big thing for the Detroit Lions were they not so far ahead. William White, their defensive signal caller, who they really didn't think was going to play today. So they've gotten 3 quarters out of him, and they've got a lead. They just have to hold on for the rest of the game.
So William White being taken off the field, and Harry Colon, the 2nd year from Missouri, into the ball game.
And Colon was hurt, JP. We saw about a quarter ago, Colon hurt his ankle. He was helped off the field. The question is, of course, can Minnesota exploit the injuries to these 2 guys or not? Do they have time to take advantage of a defective secondary, if it is so?
3rd and goal from the 3. From ground level. Allen. Touchdown, Minnesota. So the Vikings finally get on the scoreboard with a touchdown on the feet of Terry Allen.
Not only did they score a touchdown, JB, but they chose to run it in. 3 running plays. That shows confidence in your line. Shows a feeling that you can handle this defensive front. It also says that even though you're behind, you're not going to panic. You're going to try to do what you do best to get back within the game.
Juan Rivez for the point after. And the Vikings finally, with a touchdown in the game, trail 31-10.
If Babe Ruth was alive, he'd be 2 years younger than me. It's got to be the shoes. Well, maybe it's the oysters.
This game summary is sponsored by Nike.
Only 1 offensive touchdown by the Lions. Special teams, big part all day today for the Lions. And Detroit leads it 31-10. And the first Minnesota touchdown of the game.
Absolutely. We spoke to Chris Carter yesterday about whether the receivers have to block in this offense. In fact, you see number 80 coming down the line. What he's going to do is come down the line and seal off Porsche. Porsche is a big man
This is Chris Carter, number 80. They all block. It's not a huge block, but it shows that you've got what it takes to get in there and hit those big guys. A lot of receivers will not hit those, you know. Got to see it off the backside. It's indicative of how Coach Dennis Green wants his team to play as a unit. Everybody contributes.
You mentioned Porsche being a big guy, 6'3", about 285. I'd say he qualifies as big. Mel Gray from the 1. Out of seam. Don't think there will be too much of an argument as to who the MVP goes to for this game. Mel Gray with a 33-yard return, putting the Lions in excellent field position. Coming up next on CBS, the U.S. Open Tennis Championships conclude with the men's final as number 2 Stefan Edberg takes on number 3 Pete Sampras. That'll determine the winner of the world's toughest tennis tournament. And George, I know, as I mentioned before, with your being such a big tennis fan, I know you watched yesterday as we take a look at the scores from yesterday.
Absolutely.
Hit it in motion. Sanders spinning away from Al Noga, but running into Todd Scott. Good gang pursuit on the part of Minnesota. Now, George, I guess with 12:42 left in the ball game, a 31-10 lead, I guess 2 schools of thought here. Would you leave some of your veterans, your stars, in the ball game? You looked at what happened to William White hurting his ankle, and Detroit goes to Washington next week. Do you concede, that you've won at this early point, or what?
Absolutely not, JB. A lot of things can happen in a football game. There's plenty of time left. There's 12:40 on the clock. Heck, Minnesota gets things going. They can put up 5 touchdowns. You want to keep the men on the field that got you to where you are right now and have them continue doing whatever they were doing before. Certainly don't want to take them out.
Minnesota with 1 timeout remaining. Detroit with its full complement, all 3. Sanders. And Sanders certainly can make a 4 or 5-yard run look very exciting.
As Jerry Ball says, he's the only guy he knows that can run forwards and backwards at the same time. Is that you're never quite sure what he's going to do, where he's going to go. And as the offensive lineman has said when we spent some time with him, you block the hole you think that he's going to go in, but he may go somewhere else. You can't get there, so you become part of the cheering section. Go, Barry, go. I think we're going to see a lot of Barry Sanders in this drive.
Second largest seating capacity in the NFL here at the Silverdome, 80,000 plus. Of course, the LA Coliseum with number 1, 92,000. Here's Barry Sanders, and Sanders looks to have the first down. Barry Sanders, truly the kind of guy who simply wants to win.
Well, that's the kind of thing that Wayne Fonts has going with his Detroit team. I mean, they're all very family-oriented. They're very close. They spend a lot of time together. Not to say that the Vikings don't have that cohesiveness, but it's very different. It's on a different level, much more professional, distant. With the Detroit Lions, they're all very close, and they don't care how you win. They just want to win. They don't care who makes the big play as long as someone makes it.
1st and 10, number 46 of Detroit. 10:56 left in the ball game. Sanders flags on the play, and Sanders, every time Sanders has the ball, at least 2 or 3 Vikings are there. That time, Van Waiters was there with a little assistance from Carl Lee. And this one may go on Al Noga. Al Noga, 6'1", 270, 5th-year player out of Hawaii.
We're just a little early, JB. He's a little anxious, beat the ball, got the penalty.
As a result, the ball moved across midfield into Minnesota territory. 1st and 5. Ball at the 49 of Minnesota. 10:30 left in the game. 31-10 Lions. Out of the formation, play action. Here comes Dolman. Dolman is there. Sack number 3 of the season for Chris Dolman. 2nd of the afternoon for Minnesota.
That's Dolman. Chris Dolman. The Dolman actually beats Jimmy Johnson, number 89,
trying to make the block. We spent some time with him, JB, and I asked Jimmy Johnson, I said, is there any part of your game that you feel you need to work on? He said, yes, my pass blocking, my run blocking is good, my receiving is fine, but my pass blocking is not up to par, and in this offense, sometimes I have to block the defensive end. That time he was supposed to, did do a good job sacking.
Vikings had, as a team, only 33 sacks last season. They've got 8 so far. This is the second game of the season, 8 total. Chris Doman in on the stop of Barry Sanders. And many people, certainly coming off of last week's game by Chris Doman, are saying, hey, Doman is definitely back. The fire is there. There's the number I was telling you from that high of 71 back in 1989. Keith Millard, Henry Thomas, Chris Doman and company, down to a low of 33 last year. Doman's got 3 on the season so far. The team 8.
Well, Dennis Green and Tony Dungy, his defensive coordinator, are counting on Chris Doman to have a big year. The fact that he's here says that Dennis Green feels he's part of this cohesive group, because the guys that he didn't like are gone.
3rd and 14. Peete with time. Drills intended receiver was Willie Green, and Peete again picking himself up off of the turf as Chris Doman put him in pancake fashion.
Boy, JB, he was really drilled by Chris Doman on that play. It looked like an underneath stunt. Take another look at it. Chris Doman starts upfield, spins inside, and hits Rodney Peete right in the kisser. Kind of tough. And a pancake to the ground, so you get the sack, then you knock the guy down, then you fall on him, then you roll on him.
Now that's the kind of fire that Minnesota needs to see from Chris Doman, as you saw him on the sidelines yelling and screaming at his teammates. That's what they needed last year. That's what they're hoping he can continue this year.
He's trying to get his teammates fired up, get him back in this ball game.
Jim Arnold, not a good punt. Don't know whether a hand was on that one or not. And it stops at about the 29. A 29-yard punt. 31-10. All Detroit.
CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League is sponsored by Coors Light, the Silver Bullet. It's the right beer now. Crest, the dentist's choice for fighting cavities. Crest with Floristat. And by BMW, the ultimate driving machine.
Back here at the Silverdome. And Chris Doman, a little bit of a smile. One of the few things to smile about for Minnesota. Flattening Rodney Peete.
Well, these defensive linemen, the one thing that makes them truly happy is sacking the quarterback. It's like throwing red meat out there.
And obviously with all the guys gathered around, hey fellas, this is how I did it. Spun around there, got a nice quick move here. I don't know Rodney Peete too well. I'm gonna make him pay.
That inside spin move.
1st and 10 from the 30. Gannon stepping up into the pocket, deciding to take it. And Gannon slides, probably will be marked at about the 38. Gain of about 8. Tampa Bay looking impressive this year. Let's check in with Greg Gumbel.
JB, let me tell you about Vinny Testaverde. 2 touchdowns throwing today, and this one on the run from 2 yards out and right over Adrian White at the goal line. 355 yards passing on the day. Tampa Bay leads at 31-3, looking to start 2-0 for the first time since 1980, JB.
All right, Greg, as well, Vinny Testaverde now setting the new all-time passing yardage mark, surpassing Doug Williams. So Vinny Testaverde shaking the flu and coming on to lead the Tampa Bay Bucks. Back here at the Dome, it's all Detroit, 31-10, 7:49 left in the game to play as we take a look at Roger Craig and the Minnesota Vikings. Now the Vikings going to have to regroup. Next week they play in Minneapolis and welcome that Tampa Bay squad that George is in fact a new look Tampa Bay Buck team.
Well, I agree. We saw them last week, and Sam White has those guys fired up, but I don't think you can count Minnesota out of this game yet. There's still time, and things do happen in football games.
Strong hit by Chris Spielman as Spielman and Anthony Carter go at it. And I tell you, Chris Spielman is one guy you don't want to tangle with. 6'1", about 247 pounds. And he's a football player's football player.
Here comes Anthony Carter across the middle. Now, Chris Spielman has dropped into the hook zone. He comes up, makes the hit. Now, he hasn't had a good preseason. The coaches have been on him. They want him to play better, so he's a little bit fired up. And, of course, it helps to pick on someone smaller than him.
Well, he was also going to go after Kirk Loudermilk, and there's a flag on the play as the umpire. Was it the umpire who took that? No, yes, indeed. The umpire found himself on the ground in that play.
Personal foul.
John Keck.
That's the umpire right down the middle, JB. He takes a hit. Chris Carter lays the wood to him. You know, in a physical contest like this, everybody's got to take their lumps. Getting up a little slowly, number 67.
67 being John Keck, who looks to have shaken it off. Chris Carter running his route and running right into him. And this is a personal foul being assessed against the Detroit Lions. Maybe a delayed call of sorts, knowing that Chris Spielman got it started earlier. 1st and 10, ball at the 36 of Detroit. Roger Craig, the only back. Gannon being chased by Kelvin Pritchett. It's caught, but out of bounds. Indeed it was. Chris Carter. Kelvin Pritchett, second-year player out of Mississippi, is a guy whom Woody Woodenhofer says he thinks he could be a real star in this league.
Oh, you're right, JB. He was their #1 draft choice last year. They've got some young fellas on this thumb. By young, I mean guys who've only played 1 or 2 years, or, you know, it's like the rookie Robert Porcher. They feel that over the coming years, they're going to have the makings of a fine defensive line.
2nd and 10. Gannon drills it complete for the first down to Hassan Jones. Hassan Jones not appreciating what's going on as he goes after it with Harry Colen. Jones, a 7th-year player out of Florida State. He knows a good hit, and he also knows when a young guy is trying to make a reputation off of him. He won't allow it.
Well, these guys are, you know, they're competitors within their division, and they don't like each other.
But you know, being spanked 31-10 like this, as you take a look at Roger Craig running ahead, stopped by George Jameson, Denny Green and company have to like the fact that they're still seeing that competitive fire in the Vikings. They aren't giving up.
Well, these guys are professionals. I mean, they do this for a living. So it's not like they can, you know, take their helmets off and go home. Nonetheless, Coach Green just wants to get some continuity going here. He's obviously not throwing the ball in the end zone. And since he's not doing that, it must mean that he's going to, I don't want to say concede the game, but he's not trying to rack up any points very quickly. He's just trying to get his offense working in a sort of a continuous move the chain manner.
First down catch by Hassan Jones. When you talk about these guys being professional, there was, in fact, a lot of fingers being pointed saying there wasn't professional pride being displayed by Minnesota in the past. Craig. Flag on the play as Roger Craig takes it ahead for 3 down to the 5-yard line. And again, the wrestling match, the pushing, I guess the little discussion, if you will, about the state of the stock market continues.
Well, I think it's safe to say that that the rematch is certainly going to be a violent one, whatever that happens. These two teams are truly developing a dislike for one another.
That was Sheldon White, 5th-year player out of Miami of Ohio, engaged in that one.
Taking a look at Sheldon.
A contract holdout much of the season. Matter of fact, all of the preseason.
You know, JB, regardless of the outcome of this game, you have to be inspired by a guy like Roger Craig. He's twisting, he's turning, he's diving, he's trying to get there. He's got a lot of time in the league. He never gives up. He's a veteran player that would have to inspire the rest of these guys.
Well, Roger Craig certainly has the same work ethic, working hard after practice every day, keeping himself in great shape. Cincinnati leading the Raiders 21-14. Going for their 2nd straight win, and the Raiders kept Jay Schrader as a starter for today's game.
The penalty is from the end of the run, 10 yards. It's still 1st down.
Well, you heard Jerry Austin. Holding penalty against Minnesota. First and goal from the 16. 5:03 left in the game. Gannon, deep drop. With time, drills it off the fingertips of Chris Carter. Well, well-executed play. Nice pass by Gannon, but just off the fingertips of Chris Carter.
Well, JB, it was off the fingertips of Chris Carter, but I think he threw into coverage. We have Chris Carter coming across the middle, but he's not really open. As you can see, that ball could have easily been intercepted. I think Rich Gannon...
George, he wasn't open there. He had the ball on his hands.
You're tough, JB. You are tough. You are tough.
Oh, no, but I'm not going to fight George, though. Complete. Gannon finds Steve Jordan. There's a flag on the far side of the field around the 11-yard line. Well, actually, I pick up my spunk from you. You've been pretty hard on the players.
You remind me of an old receiver coach I used to have when I was back in college.
Illegal use of hands of the face. Number 39 of the defense. 5 yards, first down.
That's Ray Crockett. Again, you were starting to say?
I said back in college, I played tight end, and I had one of those coaches. If your fingertips can touch it, you're supposed to always catch it. I don't care what body position you're in, who's on top of you. You are tough.
Oh, boy. Easy to sit up here and say that. Believe you me, I know. On first down, Gannon going again, complete for the touchdown to Anthony Carter. And Gannon really took a lick from Robert Porcher.
Taking a look at Gannon and the hit by Porcher, it's a low hit. It's not much of a hit, pushed his own man in there, but downfield, looks like he got that knee, but he twisted it. Sometimes your knee gets caught on this turf.
Oh, and that is Michael Kofor being lifted up onto the cart. And we'll get back to Michael Kofor in a minute as Fuad Rivez completes the scoring with that point after. And Kofor looks to be grabbing that left leg of his, or is it the right leg? We'll get a report. And he's in pain. (31-17), Detroit on top. 4:39 left in the ball game, and as George Starke mentioned, hey, still anything can happen. And you know what? There's still a lot of time left in the ball game.
Well, JB, they're only down. They're
onside
down less than 2 touchdowns. This is they're going to go for an onside kick. This is Detroit's onside kick defense.
And it was recovered by Brett Perryman. So, of course, they had their hands guys there to try and get it. Well, a bit more for Greg Gumbel to report on. Right now, let's check back in New York with Greg.
All right, James, at the Superdome in New Orleans, Bobby Hebert is having a heck of a second half. 210 yards, 2 long touchdown passes, including this 72-yarder to Wesley Carroll. And about 8.5 minutes to play now. It's 14-6. Saints lead the Bears in the 4th, JB.
All right, Greg, and who says that Bobby Hebert can't open things up? I just think Jim Mora needs to loosen the reins a bit with them offensively. 1st and 10 from the 45 of Minnesota. 4:33 left in the game. Sanders. 31-17, Detroit on top with 4:26 left. It was just 1 year ago that the Atlanta Braves and their fans captured the spirit of baseball, and it was all led by the fans. Pretty jubilant indeed. And the manager, Bobby Cox. Again, it looks like the Braves and the Pirates will hook up, and CBS Sports will be there with full coverage of both the League Championship Series and then the World Series. Baseball at its best right here on CBS. And for you baseball buffs out there, here are the American League standings. Toronto on top of Baltimore by 4. Milwaukee still on the hunt, 6 games in back. Milwaukee knocked off Baltimore last night. And Oakland with a relatively comfortable lead over the Twins. And I'm sure the Minnesota fans are saying, yeah, that's not very comfortable, though. We're going to come back. National League standings, Pittsburgh holding to a 4-game lead over Montreal, and Atlanta. Now that is comfortable, a 10-game lead over the Cincinnati Reds. Both League Championship Series right here on CBS, and then, of course, the big one, the World Series. That's why we lose Bob Fishman, our director, as he heads back to baseball. We're smiling because we know we can't lose it right now. Still 4:26 left in the ball game. Both teams with 2 timeouts remaining. Peete to Sanders, and Sanders slowed up by Al Noga. And I'm trying to see if there was a flag thrown on the play. No flag. And Minnesota burns off a timeout. Their second. They now have 1 left. Baseball isn't the only thing coming your way in just a bit. On CBS down the road, we've also got men's singles final action, U.S. Open. That'll be coming up next. Stefan Edberg against Pete Sampras. George, who do you like in that?
I'm going to go with Pete Sampras.
Why?
Well, he's the American, actually. I hate to sound jingoistic, but I kind of like the American. But
now, George, you told me, I'm not seeing you, but you told me that you have a pretty good tennis game.
I do have a pretty good tennis game. I'm going to get you out there. I do. The key is, you know, as you get older, it's hard to bend those knees to get down to the ground. Tennis is a short person's game.
Is that right?
Most of your strokes should take place close to the surface. So if you're tall, you have to bend. And as you get older, that gets harder and harder.
Well, then you and I, it should be a wash then. We're both tall, a little old.
I like that basketball game we played.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, well, we had a not-so-old producer out there running us ragged. Rodney Peete back on 3rd and 10. Threw it in the direction of Jeff Campbell, but behind him. So Jim Arnold will come on to punt it away. Atlanta still not giving up against Washington, and the Giants making an impressive comeback. 34-21. Dallas leads it, and of course we heard Greg Gumbel give us the highlights on the action there. Tampa Bay spanking Green Bay in the worst possible way. Vinny Testaverde looks to be a totally different quarterback now. I don't want to just say it's because it's the 6th and final year of his contract, but he certainly looks a lot more impressive.
Well, I think it's Sam Weich. I think Sam knew that he had to take a young guy who hasn't played well over the last couple of years. He put a new system in. He simplified it for Vinny. And I think he's given Vinny Testaverde a lot of confidence. He lets him know that if he just, in a step-by-step manner, does as Sam instructs him, that things would work well. And Vinny's doing that, and they're playing well.
Wayne Fontes said that he was actually trying to say this wasn't a must-win, but he knew that he couldn't start 0-2 because the fans here are certainly expecting more. Well, Wayne Fontes has had an awful lot of personal tragedy to overcome, not only with people on the team, but his own brother, Lynn Fontes, the secondary coach who passed back in May. And a very, very tough situation for Wayne Fontes to overcome. But he's trying to keep the team focused and doing a good job today. Gannon back on 1st and 10. Gets rid of it as Jeff Big Game Hunter was coming after him. And we've got 2 flags on the field, both one near the far sidelines at the 20. And the other at about the 23-yard line.
We have offsetting fouls, holding, number 93 of the defense, number 63, ineligible downfield, penalties offset, repeat, first down.
Offsetting.
Minnesota Vikings looking a little down, JB. They need, you know, they're not out of this ball game. There's almost 4 minutes left. I question the play calling because they need to get the ball upfield. You're in a situation now, it's 4 minutes left. You got to get the ball upfield if you want to win this game.
And there's an attempt at that. Chris Carter, and Carter run out of bounds at about the 36, making the 37. Harry Colton runs him out of bounds, 17 yards picked up on that play. Now, is that the kind of action you were talking about, or even deeper?
Absolutely. It's a deep crossing pattern. I think that they need to go to Anthony Carter and a go pattern. They need to stretch this Detroit defense, stretch the envelope. They keep, you know, that time they stretched it a little bit. It was a deeper route, but it's still an in route. They need to go deep sideline route and loosen these Detroit defensive backs up, get some big plays, put some points up.
Only the second catch of the day by Chris Carter. And it goes back to Anthony Carter, incomplete. Well, last week, Certainly the Lions received a fair amount of criticism from the local folks and the press that their zone defense was far too soft. Was in fact a prevent defense, so people thought. Wayne Fonts and staff says no way was it a prevent defense.
Well, I think that was unfair criticism, but nonetheless it was stinging criticism, so you know they're not going to let that happen today. But still, Minnesota's got to put some pressure deep on these guys. There's just not enough time in the game for them just to throw underneath. They'll just run out of clock.
And Chris Carter didn't look that one in properly, as he should have. Greg Gumbel back in New York will bring us up to date on what's taking place. Let's go to Greg.
All right, JB, at the Meadowlands, the Giants have crept back into this game. Phil Simms, 6 yards to Stephen Baker, and with about 8:40 to play in the game. It's 34-21 Dallas, James.
And Greg back here, 3:37 left in the game. Gannon back on 3rd down. Throws it high, and it's intercepted by Detroit. Scott. Kevin Scott with the interception, 4th turnover of the afternoon for the Vikings.
It's just out of the hands of Anthony Carter. He had it. He just dropped it, and unfortunately for him, he dropped it up in the air. And Scott got an interception. They're playing that deep zone, JB. They're just dropping back. They're not going to give you anything deep. You have to throw underneath. That's okay. Anthony Carter's there. Should have had the interception. Ball a little high. Nonetheless, he should have had it regardless. Interception, turnover. Detroit's got the ball.
2 timeouts remaining for the Lions, 1 for the Vikings. 3:27 left in the contest. Sanders reversing field. And give the credit to Van Waiters, who was waiting for it. 5th-year player out of Indiana. And Van Waiters is probably the biggest linebacker that the Lions make that the Vikings have. And is strongest against the run. He displayed it there. Kevin Scott, the young man out of Stanford, who made that interception. 1st interception of his career. And it has, in fact, been a strong day for the Lions special teams and defense. And I'm sure that even though he is a Stanford grad, Denny Green certainly didn't find any comfort in that at all. Now, Stanford won last night, 21-7 over Oregon. And again, none of that matters to Denny Green. He wants the Vikings to win.
He wants these guys to win. He wants these guys to play well. I think the game was probably slipping away from him. There's still time. It's 3:16. He needs the ball. He doesn't have it. More importantly, his guys aren't playing that well. Even if he had the ball, I'm sure that would be successful.
2nd and 10. We were talking about what the respective coaches' alma maters did last night. Wayne Font's Michigan State squad lost for the 2nd consecutive year to Central Michigan.
The Chippewas.
Yeah, I was about to say.
I knew
You
they
got
were
it.
the
All right,
Chippewas.
you got it. There's Woody Woodenhofer, certainly a very respected coach in the game. It was interesting how he was drawing up defensively what the Lions were to have done last week against the Bears in that last drive we were referencing earlier when people were saying the Lions were playing a prevent defense. Woody says, no way, we had the right defense, just wasn't executed properly.
Well, he was stung by the criticism. Nobody wants to take the heat, for what the crowd thought was a mistake. Fans, it wasn't a mistake. It was just a missed courage, but he wanted to make sure that we knew that he wasn't the guy.
And Minnesota can't stop the clock. The Vikings have no timeouts remaining. 2:13 and ticking. And coming up next, U.S. Open men's singles final. Edberg against Sampras. That'll be coming your way right here on CBS as a part of our comprehensive U.S. Open coverage. As we head toward the 2-minute mark, Detroit looking to even its record at 1-1. Back here at the Silverdome, Lions comfortably ahead, and Dallas was comfortably ahead of the New York Giants, and it was at one point 34-0 in the 3rd quarter of play. Folks, look at it, 34-28 now. and still 6 minutes left to play. Phil Simms making a strong case. Hey, folks, I ought to continue to be the starter.
Minnesota could use some of that inspiration. Clock is not always a factor. You just got to put some points in.
4th and 4 here for the Lions at the 36 of Minnesota. And Dolan kept coming. Flag on a play.
Not a good play.
By whom?
If in fact it's against Chris Dolman, it's not the kind of thing you need to do on 4th and 4. 20 new faces and a lot of enthusiasm. Sam Weiss has got those guys going.
And a good defense. Sanders. 1:53 left in the ball game. Ray Berry on the tackle there.
They've probably done that. Unfortunately, they haven't put up much in the offensive category, so they won't win this game.
Down to about the line of scrimmage, actually. But we were talking about Barry Sanders and his longest run of the afternoon, 11 yards.
Well, 11 yards is the longest run, JP. Is not horrible. You know,
Oh, no, absolutely not.
11-yard run. He has
average by his standards, though.
Average by his standards is that you always think this guy's going to, you're going to blink your eyes and he's going to have made 4 guys miss and be on his way down the sideline for 7 points. Minnesota's done a good job, as we said, at bottling him up today. But there's more to the game than just stopping Barry Sanders. You have to play good special teams. You've got to play good offense. Hasn't gone that way for them today.
3rd and 9 as Rodney Peete goes down to the win the game position. And Chris Dolman comes up to talk to Rodney Peete in a standing position this time as opposed to a prone position. Mel Gray, my vote for MVP. 58-yard punt return for a touchdown at 31 years of age. And George, this guy, much like an Art Monk, shows what the benefit of working hard in the offseason will do in prolonging your career.
Well, he does. He's the kind of fellow that as you say, works hard, he works out, he trains, he lives a clean life. He doesn't break himself down, and he's played long.
So for George Starke, I'm James Brown saying